A girl in worn clothes and with a shabby violin stepped onto the stage. The audience chuckled, unaware of how quickly everything would change. The morning began as usual with the alarm clock and Camilla's quiet bustle, trying not to wake her 10-year-old daughter Layla. Their room in the dilapidated house was filled with silence, broken only by the hum of the old refrigerator. Layla slept curled up on the sagging mattress while Camilla prepared a meager breakfast and packed her lunch in a tattered bag. Every day, leaving for her cleaning job at the school where Layla studied, and then for the night shift at a roadside diner, Camilla whispered to her, "I'll see you soon. Be good. Be brave." She avoided meeting her daughter at school, not wanting her to see the contempt in the eyes of others. Camilla put all her earned tips into a jar for Layla. Their one-room apartment was old and uncomfortable, but for them, it was home. Layla was a quiet child, immersed in her thoughts, often writing something in a notebook. At home, she listened to instrumental music on her mother's old phone. One day, passing a pawn shop, Layla froze at the window, seeing an old violin. Her eyes lit up. Camilla, noticing this, returned the next day and bought the instrument with her saved money. At home, Layla touched the violin with reverence. At night, the apartment filled with the scratchy sounds of unskilled playing and the quiet murmuring of the girl trying to extract a melody. Camilla listened, feeling her heart fill with hope. The violin became a part of their lives. Layla spent hours learning melodies, finding free lessons online. She worked hard, and Camilla saw her daughter change. Shoulders straighten, a spark appear in her eyes. One day at school, Camilla saw an announcement for the annual talent show. That evening, Layla played a new melody for her mother and said she had signed up for the competition. The following weeks were spent preparing. Layla rehearsed her composition, and Camilla helped her as much as she could. At school, Layla was mocked for her old violin, but she paid no attention and continued to practice diligently. The night before the performance, Layla played until her fingers ached. Camilla, listening, felt pride and anxiety. The evening of the competition arrived. Layla went on stage in her only blue dress. The hall was full. She began to play. Her melody was simple but piercing. However, the hall greeted her performance with silence. No one applauded. Layla bowed and left. Camilla, sitting in the hall, felt her heart break. Backstage, Layla calmly put the violin in its case. At home, she didn't touch the instrument for several days. Camilla talked to her, recalling her own youthful dream of writing poetry and how she stopped after a teacher's disapproving comment. She didn't want Layla to give up music. One day, Camilla brought home a flyer for a city competition for young musicians. Layla looked at it for a long time, and then, at night, Camilla heard the violin case open, and hesitant, quiet notes sounded again. Layla started playing again. Her music became quieter, sadder, but did not disappear. One night, she began to hum a melody, not the one she had played at the competition, but a new one. For the first time in a long time, she played without hesitation. The next morning, Layla sat at the table with a blank sheet and began to write notes. 2 days before the competition, Layla returned home and said she wanted to try to perform. Camilla helped her prepare. On Saturday morning, they went to the audition. Layla remained calm, although there was bustle around. When she was called, she went out and played. At first, the judges paid no attention, but then one of them raised his head and began to listen. At the end of the performance, no one clapped, but the judge thanked her. At home, Layla said, "He looked at me. He listened." The next day, they received a call informing them that Layla had been selected to participate in the spring concert. Layla burst into tears of surprise. She picked up her violin again and played for the one who had heard her. The world around them seemed to brighten. Layla played for hours and her melodies became deeper. She entered a support program for gifted children, where Carlos Mendoza became her mentor. He helped her develop her talent. Layla made friends with other students and began performing at small concerts. At home, everything remained the same outwardly, but inside their small apartment, a new life blossomed. Layla continued to practice on her old violin, saying that it understood her. In the spring before the big concert, Layla dedicated her performance to her mother. She called her new composition The New Name. On the day of the concert, Layla went on stage in a new dress provided by the foundation. She began to play, and her music filled the hall. Quiet notes sounded at first, then the melody grew, telling a story of struggle, silence, and finding a voice. The hall was silent. At the end of the performance, hesitant applause began, then grew into a standing ovation. Backstage, Layla was offered a full scholarship for her studies. She said she wanted to continue writing her own music to tell their story. After the concert, classmates began to look at Layla differently. One day, a girl approached her and said she wanted to play like her, but she didn't have money for lessons. Layla replied that money wasn't the main thing was to keep going, even when no one applauded, and the music filled the room again.